Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Of course, this is July 4th, Independence Day in America, and being an American myself, I certainly appreciate this day and welcome to everybody listening. I knew that one of these days I would find myself on a show where I would be by myself. I knew when I started that would happen eventually. And of course, it makes sense that it happened on July 4th because everyone else is out watching the fireworks. That's why. And good on for doing that. Good family day. And yes, happy 4th of July to you as well, Joshua. I see Lady Celtic Moon is in here. We got Pope Fire Roger as well. Thank you guys for joining me on uh, this Independence Day Eve or nighttime. Of course, I'm living over in the states. It's actually I'm living over in Japan, of course, so it's actually July 5th. But nevertheless, I did watch the parade today, Trump's parade. It felt very much like a hometown parade rather than some big production vehicle like we see on Macy's. But that was kind of quaint, actually. I kind of like watching that. It was fun. But other than that, I don't get to do much on the 4th anymore because I'm not in America. But it is nice to see all the fireworks and all the stuff that's going on. And thank you guys for coming in and joining me. Now I'm going to cover the news here in a little bit. But let me jump over to myself here real quick. And we do have some things to talk about. There are a lot of news pieces, but I am curious if you guys have been looking at the news yourself or if there's any kind of comics you'd like to talk about or anything like that. And as I start to go into the news and go through that, just go ahead and do me a favor and put that in the chat, and we'll see what you guys have to say as well. But I will jump over that as soon as I do all the advertisements. Yes, USA, USA. But it's America's birthday. Why can't we have a patriotic day? And that's actually something that's been surprising me. I've the past few days I've been hearing so much anti-American hate coming out of America. It's like, what are you doing, dude? It's America's birthday. Just enjoy, right? Good morning, all. Happy Freedom Day, says Rusty Day. Absolutely. Uh, and of course, when I was a kid, it was always a lot of fun. Independence Day, we go out, have barbecue, and we watch the fireworks at night, right? Pretty simple. I live over here in Japan, and of course, they have their own Independence Day. Of course, that was just after World War II, right? So I think it was 1946 or I think it was in 1946 or 47. They set up their new constitution, right? So they have that, but it's on February 11th for them. But the Japanese do nothing. They don't. It's just a day off. So I think it's unfortunate. Uh, Joshua says, "I'll join you, Chester, but I won't talk." Well, then that's not helpful. That's all right. I'm good. I'm going to get into the news here, and that'll be a lot easier anyway. Of course, having someone with you, it's easier to bounce dialogue off of course, and having an oily bird is the most easy way to go about it. Kate Blunt says, "America, absolutely." Um, 8 likes, sweet. That's nice. Hello, comic book Bob. How you doing? All right. Well, let me come over and take a look and see what we have for news today. But do check out the links we have down below. We got a bunch of stuff there you guys can check out, particularly the FanSpeak page, which is really doing well. I think that's the most successful thing we've had so far with this whole FanSpeak is the FanSpeak page. I mean, it's very active. There's a lot of people over there using it. It's really cool. We do appreciate you guys doing that. But let me jump over here to the news. And of course, unfortunately, I'm starting off with a CBS page, which I do apologize. This comic book is actually owned by CBS, and these guys can't. This is the most horrible thing. But of course, a lot of people are talking about it, so I'm not going to take too much time because you can go find whole episodes dedicated to this right here. So I'm just going to cover RIP or Rest in Peace Mad Magazine because they are stopping the run of it, and that is unfortunate. Now, when I was a kid, you'd find Mad Magazine all over the place. Dentist offices and all those kind of other things. I never actually bought Mad myself, but it was something you saw around a lot, and I've certainly picked up one and read it here or there. Any of you guys actually a Mad Magazine reader from the past? I never really did. Anybody? Joshua wants to know what's Booster's excuse for not being here. I don't know. He's doing something else, I'm assuming. I know most of the crew are Americans, so I mean They're out watching the fireworks is what they're doing. Turtle Rabbit says, Comicsgate needs to start a spoof magazine to replace Mad. Call it woke. Actually, I think that'd be funny, dude. And actually, Turtle Rabbit, your art would be perfect for it, dude. Absolutely. And matter of fact, you know what you should do? You and I should get together and let's create a cover. And I will put in some funny little blurbs, or we'll set up a funny little scene for a woke cover in a mad style. Get in touch with me on the down below on my Twitter. How you and I will do that. I think that'd be funny. Yeah, why not? But this article just going through all the pertinent information, which isn't a lot. They're just that is simply, they tried to reboot it in the 2017, and it just didn't work. The thing's been going on since 1952, and people just aren't reading it anymore. I guess they didn't adapt themselves to the internet properly, I suppose, or maybe it's just not what people are interested in. But then again, I have to say that a lot of the things we see coming out of media, it just isn't funny anymore. There's not a lot of really humorous things. These days, and I don't know why that is, but it is. Let's see here. Nick W says I was a Mad Magazine and Cracked reader. Well, Cracked, I remember. I read more of that. I think. Brian Hawkins says I used to get Mad Magazine all the time when I was younger. Yeah, I never really did. I was more. I did read the Cracked things. I also got some of the horror books. I remember Tales from Tales. What was the name of that one? I can't remember the name of that one, but I used to read a horror one, and I know there was another one I used to when I was a little bit older was heavy metal. That's the one I loved. I love heavy metal magazine. I used to get that all the time. Comic Book Bob says, once they started getting woke and removed strips like Spy versus Spy, I lost interest. Well, what's unwoke about Spy versus Spy? It's simply it's literally just a right or left or versus characters going around murderlating each other. What's un PC about that? Rusty Dale says it was quite a well presented mag. Grew and other stuff on the border. Fold the back cover to see a different picture, etc. Oh, there you go. So you guys know a lot more about it than I do. I read a lot in the 70s and 80s, Rusty Dale said. Yeah, like I said, I saw it more than read it. You know what I read a lot of was it Ranger Raccoon or Ranger Rick or something like that? There was some kind of like nature kids magazine thing that had a raccoon kind of superhero ranger thing on it. I think it was Ranger Rick or something like that. I probably read more of that than anything else. But then again, when I was a kid. I was in a very kind of strict Christian home, so I can't imagine Mad would ever have been allowed past the threshold of my house when I was a kid. Uh, AT&T merged with Time Warner Inc. and is in the middle of consolidation. Oh, well, there you go. Tales from the Crypt. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the one. The magazine though, not the series, the TV series, and that was a good series too. I love those. And Ranger Rick. Yeah, that's right. Ryan Hawkins. Ranger Rick. I read a lot of those. Those are fun. But mostly I had a lot of books anyway. But rest in peace, Mad Magazine. Who knows? Maybe someone will reboot it and do it more proper for the modern day. I've been hearing for quite a while though that everyone's saying magazines are dead, and really, over here in Japan, I see magazines all over the place, and many of them are foreign magazines. Of course, they've been translated into Japanese, but the Japanese read magazines every day. So is it true? Does the internet really kill a magazine? I don't know. I don't see it over here anyway. Let's see. Nick W says DC Comics publishing better start showing a profit. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Obviously, Disney doesn't care because they're using Marvel simply as a mouthpiece. They don't really care if it makes money in the comic book, obviously. But and we're seeing them getting woke and going broke. Now I don't have the actual article up here, but of course we all saw that Tom Holland came out and says, "Wow, why shouldn't we make Spider-Man gay? I mean, really, is a white straight guy really what we need today, or does he really represent the world? Well, I don't know what he represents, but he represents Peter Parker. I don't, really? Is that your move there, Mr. Tom Holland? Huh? Virtue signaling enough? Silly little boy." And the thing with him is obvious after seeing his that article, which I don't have it in front of me, so I'm not going to try to quote it actually. But if you go look at what he said, though, it's like, well, this kid obviously doesn't know Peter Parker at all. I mean, it was just kind of a shame. You would think him playing Peter Parker, he would at least read some comic books. Comic Book Bob says it was a white spy fighting a black spy. Didn't say it made sense, but those are the kind of crazy leaps outrage culture makes these days. Yeah, I always kind of got a feeling they were kind of French or something, though. The way they were drawn and presented, I didn't really. There's no there's no African American or Negro aspects to either one of them. They're not even human looking. That's dumb. It's weird, these days people, it's almost as if these activists think that like the Black Lives Matter type people, it's as if they own the word black. And it's like, you don't. We use the word black for all kind of stuff that has nothing to do with the Africans. But hey, what do I know? Anyway, let's move on to a better story because I hate CBS's comic book page, man. This is, you guys, if you go view it on your own on the internet, maybe it doesn't bother you as much. But with me sitting here doing the show and the way we present it to you, it's horrible. It's really horrible. I hate them. Anyway, let's move over to this right here. This is much more interesting, I think. Chester Nick W says, did I say something bad again? I don't have Dinale here to shut me up when I say bad things. He gets mad at me.
Ding ding.
Ding, ding. Did I say something bad? I didn't say anything,
Yes, you
dude.
did.
No,
You
what did
said
I
bad
say?
thing. Bad things. I know if they were already saying Chester. Chester.
I don't know. I thought it was quite poignant. Maybe not. Anyway, me Grimlock King 83 says Holland doesn't understand Parker because he doesn't play Parker. He plays the Big Bang Theory version of Spider-Man. Well, yeah, he plays Miles Morales, really. And honestly, if they made Miles a gay character, I don't know that would be a problem. Go right ahead. I mean, he's Mr. Diversity anyway, so make him the ultra diversity. Matter of fact, why can't we just go ahead and make him a transgender female to male? How about that? I think that's perfect. I mean, why not, right?
I mean,
I mean,
well, I mean, they're already talking about it, saying Spider-Man is how I feel when I'm transgendered, or something like that. That's one of the articles I saw like earlier this week and last week.
yeah.
It's like how Spider-Man dual identity speaks volume to transgender people. So I'm like,
Oh, does it?
okay, you're reading too much into that.
Well, I'm kind of, here's the thing. I think I'm misunderstanding with the modern age, and maybe it's just because I live in Asia, and Asia doesn't care about this stuff. But you know, when I was young, I was taught that you should be tolerant of as much that can be tolerated, right? I mean, obviously, there's some things you cannot tolerate. There's a line, right? But you should be as tolerant as absolutely possible. But no one's asking you to be accepting, right? That's what I was taught. Be tolerant because that makes for a better, happier world. Okay, I agree. And I live my life that way. But I don't understand why it's so important these days to focus on this ultra microcosm of reality. I mean, the transgender community is less than a percentage point of the actual world. Now I know homosexuals make up about 3% or so, and that's all well and good, but I don't get it. It's we can tolerate and we can let them be happy. I don't think you should bring harm to them or pick on them or anything like that. Let them be, right? But
Well,
why are we
I mean,
focusing so much attention on a part of part of our community that no one knows about or cares about, really?
because it's dual. There's a dual purpose to it. Maybe three purposes. The first one, there was a shift from tolerance to accepting of people. Then you're more enlightened. You're more intellectual. You're more of a human person that deals with it. That's been what's been kind of feeding down the tube in the last 15 years, so to speak.
I see.
That shift from the shift from tolerance to actual acceptance
Well, that's
with these
actually
individuals.
illogical. If you're being acceptance of things that you can't actually comprehend, well, that's just being dishonest. You see. So is that what they really want? Is just a world of dishonesty? I guess.
Um, I mean, and that again is another power of control. You break them up into identifiers, and now you can play victimhood.
Yeah, the chat has got a lot to say today, and so many people in here too. I really expected to be alone and to have just like one or two of the foreigners with me, but we got a lot of viewers in here. You guys are awesome. I do hope you enjoyed your Fourth of July, and I'm going to ask Denali how his was today. But let me catch up on this right here. Uh,
Sure.
the Combo Bob says that's an easy layup for them to say since there's an actual legal clause that Stan put to Spider-Man that they're not allowed to change Spider-Man himself. Boy, I hope they stick to it. John Chedester says, "You said there are things that have nothing to do with African American or some things. What did I say?" He's trying to tell me what I said. But did I use the word Negro again? Am I getting yelled at for saying Negro? I don't know why
I
people
think you
have
are
such a trouble with the word Negro.
just your pronunciation.
Negro, is that a mispronunciation? That's an accurate
Yeah,
one.
it's
It's simply a short for
Negro,
Negroid. I'm a Caucasoid. Is there
right? But
some
they
problem with this?
well,
Here's the interesting
well,
thing, though.
it's not.
A lot of the African Americans, there's nothing African about them. All technicality, if you went outside of America, say into Europe or Africa or other places, the African blacks, American blacks, would actually be called coloreds, not black, because they're not. They're mulattoes. They're mixed, right? But Americans are all really touchy about these kind of racial things. I don't know, whatever. I mean, most people are mulatto in one way or another. So what's the problem? But all right, fine. Uh, Eric Hawkins says, "Hey Chester, I live near Ferguson, Missouri. Don't say Black Lives Matters. It triggers me. I still carry a gun to work." No, dude. I feel for you, dude. I mean, the Black Lives Matter are a terrorist group. They really are. And you know the funny thing, the news never covers it, but you do see it on the side. And of course, I grew up with a bunch of people, and I have many black friends, and just simply living in America, right? And they can't stand them. Actually, the normal black people, just the Americans who happen to be of African ancestry, they cannot stand these Black Lives people. Man, they are loud and troublesome, and they're embarrassing. Is what they are. Megan Morales or Millie. I like the Millie. You should go with Millie. When I was young, Chester, Nick, the 2019, Nick W says. Thank you, Nick.
Right.
Comic Book Bob says that statement from Nintendo about how they're not changing shit for Western audience was great. Yeah, why should they? It's their stuff. Why should they do that? Comic Book Bob says they don't want representation, they want power. This is true. It is true. I just think it's very illogical what we're seeing going on. Lady Celtic Moon says, "What us leave you alone? Never." Oh, thank you, Lady Celtic Moon. She's very nice.
Mhm.
YouTube bot incoming, probably, dude. Comic Book Bob says it's not enough to be tolerant. They demand acknowledgement of their ideology, irregardless of fact or data to the contrary. It's another form of power, and they demand it. Man, I guess I get it, dude. Eric says, "Christ, Chester, did you say colored?" Holy crap! Why? Come on,
Remember,
dude.
remember, Chester's an old man set in his ways
Well,
back in
I
the
mean,
80s.
it's just accurate. Anyway, I'm caught up with the chat, so thank you guys for all your input. We got a lot of people here today, but let me go over to Denali and let me give me a breather. And dude, how was
Mm.
your Fourth of July, man?
I'm still enjoying it, and fireworks is there. And you started the show. I thought there was going to be no shows today, so I was just leisurely in the barbecue, barbecuing a big sirloin steak that I'm
Oh,
now
dude,
eating every time I'm eating.
I don't want to take you away from your family, dude. You go hang out. I got this.
No, no, no. We're good.
All right.
I mean,
Uh, I mean, I live in Japan, so I don't really get to do the fourth, right? I live
Yeah.
vicariously for through the rest of you, you know.
Well, you're vicarious. I'm eating a sirloin steak, a good one. Wagyu.
Ooh, Wagyu, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, I did have some. I did receive a box of meats yesterday, so I had some nice meat products last night for dinner. So that counts, I suppose. But Japanese barbecue is nothing like our barbecue, though. It's good though. It's just different. Did you see?
Absolutely.
Did you see some fireworks today?
Oh yeah, they've been shooting it off. We are near the stadium where I
Oh,
live,
all right.
so the team is shooting off all their fireworks.
Mhm. Well,
Mm.
I when I was a kid, we used to go down to Old Mountain Field, and in the afternoon, and we have ourselves kind of a picnic barbecue, and it would be full of the whole community in the park, everyone barbecuing and sharing a beer, or because we don't really drink a lot of beer. It was really kind of those kind of holidays, the like Fourth of July, where you really had beer. But then of course we'd all stay there, and then when the nighttime come on, they would let off the fireworks. Yeah, it's always a good day. Fourth is awesome. Awesome. What about you, Doctor Wright? You are an American. How was your Fourth of July?
I had a friend who was almost failed a paper because she's got a like a neurophysiological disorder that was caused by she hit her head and she got I think it's atrachia where she can't walk for a while and some other things, and so she almost failed a class that she was doing. So I spent 7 hours writing a paper
Oh wow, that's nice
so
of you,
that she
dude.
could pass.
Did you get yourself some barbecue, a beer, and some fireworks anyway?
Not really.
Well, you should crack one, dude. It's un-American not to, I'd say. Even though I can't stand beer, but we'd always have one on the fourth. But now, is there fireworks near you? Can you see them in the distance, or
Oh yeah, I've seen them all day and I can hear them right now. So
cool.
I live on the beach, so
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I always used to love the fourth for that. It was a lot of fun. I actually went earlier today and I watched Donald Trump's Fourth of July parade. Did you see some of that?
I did not.
Mm.
Saw the like they were. I don't know. There was an article for a while. I don't know if somebody said it was a parody though that like Antifa was saying they were going to come armed to it.
Yeah, good, good. Go, you go ahead. You see what happens to you, Antifa thugmen. That's kind of uh, it's like a joke. But no, I watched it and I actually thought it was great. It was very much like the local hometown parade. It wasn't some
Mhm.
big, huge, crazy, loud production. It was just really simple. It really felt like that hometown parade, and I thought that was quaint. I thought there was something nice about that. And I think it had a lot to do with this was obviously one of Trump's last minute decisions, is why it looked like that. But I actually thought it felt good. Trump does that a lot, though. He just makes a decision, do it, get it done. That's Trump. But hey, it's American, which is awesome. Let's see. The chat really is has a lot to say today. It was awesome. Let me try to catch up again. Let's see here. Eric is still upset with me for using the word colored. Oh well. John Chittister says, I am more African than most African Americans, and I am a white man who was born in the USA but grew up in Uganda and Kenya. I was just guessing that it was a Negroid that people don't like. Um, uh, well, that's interesting, dude. Yeah, you have a very different point of view than a lot of Western people because we've never been to Africa. We wouldn't even survive in Africa very long, I would assume. But yeah, no, I think things just changed. When my grandfather is from Alabama, Mobile, Alabama, to be specific, and my grandpa, he actually had a bunch of black friends. But he certainly, at his generation, they were Negroes. I mean, but he wasn't hateful. It was just what the word they used. Then again, my grandfather also always had a pistol sitting by the side of his truck seat. So I think that's a little bit different. But my dad, he would have certainly used the word colored. I think my generation is more mulatto, I think is really what we use. But someone told me that that's a bad word now. When did that happen? So what's the word today? Can someone tell me what the PC is, please?
I don't even know. I
You
just
can
say
say people of color. or persons of color, or the disenfranchised, because that's what they are. You have to say these things and be like that, okay?
I see. Well,
And you
but
must pay attention to the pronouns. They're proper pronouns,
yeah, but aren't I a person of color as well?
I
I'm not
suppose
very
everybody is. I
specific.
mean, we just have a
Yeah.
little bit less melanin than they do, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not, I mean, they call us white, but I mean, I'm not actually white. I'm more pink, really. Interesting little anthropological genetics information for you, as you guys love when I get scientific on you. But in fact, the only actual white people on the planet are the blacks. It's just the melanin. And when you go look at their actual skin tone, they're actually white, where, of course, Caucasians are pink,
Yeah.
have a pink hue, and the Asians actually have a yellow hue. So the actual white people are actually the blacks. So isn't that ironic? But I don't know. I don't really care. We never cared about this. Who cared? No one cared. The only time you used any kind of descriptors when you had to describe something. Other than that, it was my friend Bob or my friend Roger. Right? It wasn't that black dude over there who is also my friend. It was never the thing. But these days they can't seem to get away from the adjective, the descriptors. It's like they live in this miasma of racial something or another. It's weird, dude. It's weird people, man.
Well,
Uh,
it's like I was just talking, or I didn't really talk. I just some stupid lady came out and said it. Was like, oh my God, the balance of the black people hasn't even, they had to watch white people forever. And I'm like, have you ever, looked up the origin of all those fables? You ever think, they come from Anglo Saxons, and that's why it's full of white people,
huh?
not because they just maliciously went, everyone's white, damn everyone who isn't white. That never happened,
No, of course not. Yeah, that doesn't even
you
make
know.
sense. Well, I think a lot of people don't understand history, and since we're sitting here talking about the Fourth of July, and I even came away from the news, came back over here to you guys, because there is some interesting things you might not know about the Revolutionary War. Of course, 1776, the Declaration. But did you know that at that time there was a huge, strong push to abolish slavery in the colonies? Matter of fact,
Yeah.
many of the founding fathers, who they seem to hate these days, they very much wanted to abolish slavery. Matter of fact, they did abolish slavery. This is something most people don't seem to know. They actually did abolish slavery, but King George from England said, "No, you are British. You have no right to abolish slavery. No, thank you." So actually, Thomas Jefferson, a lot of these guys, they actually put forward papers, which you can go find in the Library of Congress, by the way, where they abolished slavery, and King George overturned it. Right, and even though the Southern states wouldn't sign the Declaration unless the slavery clause was taken out, which they did take it out, it was their full intention to gradually doctor it in over the next few decades. And of course, it became very political. And then, of course, we had the Civil War, which brought it to a head and finished it. And it is interesting to me that a lot of people try to say that the Civil War was not about slavery. Nonsense. It was most certainly about slavery. I mean, there was economic issues and representation issues and
Well,
all
what
that as well.
happens? This is why they say that. I mean, I'm sure you know the history, but I don't know if everybody else does. But I mean, what they're saying is that slavery was the issue that was
Sure.
being represented as part of something else, which was Jefferson and Adams kind of had a thing from the very beginning, from the inception of America, where Adams wanted to go outside and he kind of wanted to be more of a globalist and like have a globalist economy.
That's sure.
And Jefferson wanted an agrarian, domestic, completely like self-governed, self-ruled, self-sustaining country and economy. And he lost. And we went to speculation, which is why immigrants came in the first place,
That's right.
because we
Yeah.
went to speculation and we said, hey, come here, we'll give you a plot of land, you go get that plot of land, blah blah blah. Okay. And excuse me. So what it actually is it's state rights. It's, it was we fought for the rights of the government to control a state's rights,
Mhm.
because South Carolina said, no, we're going to do our own thing, screw you. And the thing that they wanted to do was keep slaves.
Yeah,
But
and when it
what?
when it came, the reason I said that it was about slavery is because every single when they put their succession papers for which of course brought us to the Civil War, they all claimed the main purpose for succeeding from the Union was because of the Abraham Lincoln's intention to abolish slavery. I mean, it was the main
Yeah,
reason.
but
It
the whole
really
reason,
was.
like even Lincoln said he didn't care about it politically. He just thought it was despicable.
Yeah. Well, we're
Like,
getting deep into an actual
Yeah.
conversation that has nothing to do with the 4th of July.
sorry, sorry.
No, that's okay. It's my fault.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to make kind of a little, a point up front that, the founding fathers had very different opinions than they seem to be being attached to them today.
All these people
Anyway.
have no idea what the founding fathers wanted or thought or anything. I mean, you
It's
talk,
seemingly so. Yeah, it's weird. It's like I don't know. You have these things in school. They're called history books. I know they are full of propaganda and stuff, but of course they are. All countries, textbooks for their children are going to be leaning in their country's favor, obviously. I guess my knowledge is a little deeper simply because I specialized in it in the university. But even though, I mean, come on.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's like they were saying the other day. Like one of the major arguments that SJW's liberals have, is the whole Trail of Tears. We destroyed the Indians, blah blah blah, like and all that kind of stuff. And it's like you realize they attacked us first, right?
Yeah, well, and if you want to get technical, inadvertently we did destroy them. Of course, there's quite a they did
Yeah.
survive. The disease really is what got them. So inadvertently we did, but then again, they didn't even know what a germ was back then. But John Chester says Chester literally says any way of distinguishing races. YouTube bot money be gone. Oh, I don't monetize this channel anyway, dude. I mean, there are occasion when you have to describe an individual. I saw this dude running down the street, and he had a handful of TVs. Well, what did he look like, sir? Well, he was a black dude. He was about 6 foot, chunky a little bit. Descriptors, adjectives, we use them. They kind of serve a purpose, you know. And I do realize I just made a stereotype. Come at
Yeah.
me, bro. All right. Anyway,
Ding ding
Ding,
ding
well,
ding,
ding,
sir.
ding, Janai. I mean, no, I just use Japanese. Sorry, but
Yeah.
when, I do that sometimes. I think, dude, every time there's some kind of emergency or trouble, and you see on the TV and there's looters, who's looting? That's all I got to say about it.
Yeah.
Because over here in Japan, we had this thing a few years back. It was called the Tohoku earthquake, which created a tsunami that had killed 20,000 Japanese, right? 20,000. And that's a lot, especially in a country that's so modern. It has just imagine if they didn't have the incredible infrastructure as far as their coastal wall system. Just imagine the amount of death it would have been. I mean, I think we have an understanding of what it be because that Indian Ocean earthquake that created tsunami hit those third world countries, and there was 200,000 dead. And I think this
Mm.
gives you an idea what would have happened in Japan. Imagine that, right? But that was a big death toll, and of course that area was just thrown into an apocalyptic dark age instantly. But what did we see when the cameras came in with the news reporters flooding into the area to see what was going on? We see everyone sitting in these convenience stores in lines, quietly waiting for their bottle of water. There was literally zero looting,
Wow.
right? Made me proud to
Well, I
be here, dude.
mean, I remember when I can't remember the hurricane, the one that hit Louisiana like 8 years ago or so. Um, but it like basically flooded it, all the way.
Sure,
And they had like FEMA and everything didn't get there fast enough. Walmart was there like the first day with
sure.
trucks on the outside waiting.
Mhm.
And and they immediately said, if we have anything in any of our stores that you need, go get it.
Yeah. Well, most communities, no matter what color they may be, come together. It's really the
Yeah.
cities you see this kind of nonsense because there's no sense of community at all in a city. And then
Yeah.
it seems the officials do everything they can to maintain that, which is weird.
Well, then there's like social castes almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And the hurricane is Katrina.
Yeah, of course
Anyway,
it was Katrina. Yeah,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
that's the one where I was in my mind. But then of course, Katrina really was because the levees broke, and that's a longer conversation. But if you go actually to the east, where the hurricane actually hit the coast, and those little
Mhm.
towns that were completely obliterated, that the news didn't even talk about, those of course were just like most American places. They were mixed communities. There was down in that area, there's a lot of Vietnamese people, or because they came over after the war and they settled there. Of course, they're American, but of Vietnamese ancestry. There's blacks, there's Latinos, there's of course Europeans, and they worked together. There was no trouble, no looting, no raping, no murdering, nothing like that. They came together and helped each other. Normal. It's really the cities, I think, that are the issue. It's not really a racial thing at all. It's a cultural thing. And but it is what it is. Turtle Rabbit says, "Love when Trump gets old timey." It was a good show. Yeah, I thought it was. It was very quaint. I think that's the good word for it, quaint. But let me see. Try to check up here. Pro Dexstar says, "I am un-American. I guess I don't drink beer." Well, I don't think a lot of Americans don't drink beer. Actually, we have occasion to, but it's, especially if you're a kid because it's cheap. But I don't think we're really big beer drinkers. If you understand. If you've traveled anywhere and you've gone to other countries, you realize we are not beer drinkers at all. I think we're the
in
capital of
other countries,
marijuana. Huh?
in other countries,
No, in America. If you go to Britain or Germany or Japan
yeah.
or Australia, New Zealand, though they drink way more beer than we do.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Americans are kind of fruity. I mean,
Mm,
let's be, a lot of American, they drink like they call them the girly drinks, Cosmopolitan or whatever, Blue Hawaiian, crushed, whatever, the different, like basically just vodka and fruit
sure. Hey,
flavoring of some kind.
I like me a Manhattan. I do.
A
Um,
Manhattan.
a Manhattan. Yeah. You never had a Manhattan?
I've had one. It's just the way you said it seemed to accentuate man.
Well, I'm always trying to catch a bit of humor if I can, dude. Eric Hawkins says, "I chuckle a little when everyone calls Chester old because there is literally just a year between us." Well, yeah, but I think it's more of the mindset. It seems, dude. Nick W is chastising me. I'm getting chastised. Goodness, you I'm just too old in my mind, I guess. It's all bad if you're white, Chester. I guess so, but not for me, dude. I live over here in Japan and Asia. And you know what? If you're a white, tall European, that's power, baby. hmm I get noticed there. I'm like instant celebrity everywhere I go, dude. It's pretty cool. So I guess that's what you call white privilege. It exists. I found it. I'm mixed and I call myself the All American Mutt. Yeah, most people do, dude. Most people are American mutts. That's the reality, and that's the point I was trying to make. Most of the people in America that really cling to "I'm a Black American," they're not really very black. They're very mixed. Matter of fact, the average African American has upwards of 60% Caucasian in them, right? So I don't. That would mean you're not African. That would mean your majority would be European. Matter of fact, I don't know if you guys saw this, but I was watching somebody's show, and there was some girl who did the genealogy test. Some black girl. She was on the YouTube, and she did the genealogy test, and it came back, but she was white because she's majority white, and she was so upset, man. She was just really mad.
Don't buy her own rules. She's got to hate herself.
I know,
Yep.
right, right, right. Well, the problem is, it's not a problem. The thing is that the Negroid features are very prominent. They're very powerful. Many of the Asian or particularly Caucasian features are actually recessives. I don't know if you
Mhm.
guys know anything about genetics, but the recessive
Yeah,
genes.
dominant, recessive, dominant, recessive. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
And
Punnett square.
the Negroid genetics are extremely dominant, and so it takes a long time to actually, if you take a black person and literally
Diluted.
only breed them with white, it's going to take many generations for them not to look black. It just is what it
Well,
is.
that's like the Dutch Aboriginals. There's like one in every 1,000 that is blonde haired, blue eyed, and light skin.
Okay, I I
Because
I,
the
I
the
missed
Aboriginals of
something.
Australia. No, it was just
You
saying
know,
that
Oh,
it's
I
like a
see. You
recessive
said
trait
Australia.
that it.
I thought you were talking about North Scandinavia. All right, I get it now. Yeah, no, that's true, of course. And of course, I think we all have those things in us. But yeah, well, now that might have something else to do with that. I'm an expert on that, but I do know that when the Aboriginals came in, and of course the Polynesian as well, when the Maori coming down New Zealand, stuff like that. This is something you don't hear people talk a lot about because they call them the indigenous people. But the problem is, if you go look at their histories, and of course the genetic record that we're seeing that start coming out of that area of the world, they actually weren't the first people there. The first people there were there. They seemingly there was two groups. There was one group that was a very tall, red-headed group, and there was a much shorter, smaller blonde group that was already there before the Aboriginals came in, however many thousand years ago as that was. So this is kind of throws a monkey wrench into it. So did they bring that genetic precursor from when they came up out of Africa, or is this something that happened when they interbred with the local population that was already
Well, they
there?
talk about. I mean, I was doing a story on the dream,
Hmm.
dream making and the whole dream, the idea of the theory of the dream. That's like their mythology and everything.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's really important about that is they actually classify the different colors. I mean, their Aboriginals are extremely racist. It's not just black. There's like 14 different colors of black of them,
Oh, really?
and
Yeah, I don't know
it's
much about
very specific. And each one is only like each one is allowed like a certain portion of the dream or a certain part of it.
it. Hmm.
And so it's like, what the heck? You want to talk about gatekeeping?
Oh, right. Well, from an anthropological point of view, the cursory information that I do have about the Aboriginals is actually very interesting. They're quite a
Hmm.
fascinating culture, actually. But
Hmm.
I guess that's kind of a way off topic. Let me see here. If
that's a
all
TFT topic.
I guess so. Yeah, no, and it would
Yeah,
be a good one too. I don't. I might be a little
yeah.
deep actually, but anyway, it's all bad if you're white. Oh, yeah, I already read that.
I'm not jumping into that. You
This
set it
says the
up, but I'm
person's
not. I'm
color is
not taking it.
offensive to a person non-whiteness. I guess so, dude. Most black people actually don't, Chester. It's just a vocal minority. I know that. I know that. It's definitely this vocal minority that's causing all the trouble. Let me see here. Boy, you guys have a lot to say today. No, which is fine. We can do a chat session today. That's fine. I don't think Chester has seen an American history book in a long time. I haven't. I haven't seen one since I was a kid. Sure, I do all my studying and stuff at a more, um, in a way, esoteric way level, I'd say. Anti-Federalist Papers and Federalist Papers. Yeah, those are good read. You guys read those?
Yeah, I read those.
Yeah, I mean, I think all Americans should have to read them. Actually, I don't know what. Now that's something that should be in your history book. You should have a whole chapter, like a whole book, that is dedicated to just simply having high school kids read the Federalist Papers. I mean, why don't we do that? That would be smart, I think. But
What
Do
is it?
you
What
do
is
you
it?
honestly think that these people that create criteria are smart?
no, I understand that. And the education level in America has reduced mainly because the
Hmm.
education level of the teacher has reduced. The
Hmm.
requirements has reduced, and that's of course a big problem, especially when you bring in economic aspects where a better teacher can make more money, and therefore is going to put themselves in a situation where they can make the best money. Therefore, they're not going to be in the more poorer areas, like say ghettos in the city or Appalachian Mountains or something like that. It is kind of funny. We talk about all these kind of poverty creates crime and all that
Hmm.
kind of arguments, but yet one of the most safe and peaceful places in America is the Appalachians, and yet they are the actual poorest demographic in America. So how
Yeah.
is that? How is the poorest people in America actually have the least amount of crime? It's weird.
Because
Oh,
they're self-dependent for the
yes, they
most
are.
part,
That's right.
Well,
and
They're
it's
a pain in the
incentive.
ass, is
I
what they
mean,
are actually.
crime is usually a matter of impulse and incentive.
I think it's culture. I think
It's
it's pure culture.
opportunity and
Yeah,
incentive.
yeah.
well, moving on to the next news.
Oh no, no, we got they got a lot more to say. I'm going to stick with it.
All right, all right.
Hey, it's Independence Day, dude. If we want to talk about America and the Federalist Papers, why shouldn't we? Rusty Dale says spent 4 months of weekends up in Ishinomaki. The devastation was incredible. Well, dude, thank you very much for coming over and being helpful, dude. A lot of people, not only from around the world, but from here in Japan, traveled up there, sacrificed years of their life to help rebuild that area and clean it up and help the people. It's truly the Tohoku is a tragedy, of course, but it's also a representation of what humans can do when they come together. It's quite beautiful in many ways, actually. I was very proud of the Japanese from that what happened during that event. Very proud. They can be kind of boring and they can be extremely hard headed, but when it comes right down to it, they're good people. Their danger with them really, and of course the enigma of how do you go from a Japan that during before the war was basically like North Korea, and they would do anything for their God Emperor, their literal God Emperor, to the Japan of today. How does that happen? Well, I've lived here most of my adult life. I can tell you exactly how it happened because the Japanese are sheep. That's why. So if you have a good, well, it is. If you have a good leadership that has good ideas and is trying to look after the country as they do, and of course they have corruption too. But it's first things first is take care of the people. That's what they do, and therefore you have a wonderful, peaceful, happy Japanese culture. If you have a tyrannical dictatorship in charge, well, then you're gonna have that's what you're gonna get. That's just the way they are. They represent the leadership in embodiment into action, I would say. Anyway, let's see here. Let's see. Spent 4 months. Oh, yeah, okay. SJW Joshua says, "Are you saying all those looters on TV are black people? Racism." I don't know. I would imagine there was other racial groups thrown in. The only ones that the CNN cameras seemed to care about were the black ones. How about that? Because that's the only ones they showed us. So seeing as CNN is one of the most broke get woke groups on the damn planet, I think they would have desperately showed us anything that wasn't a black person looting so that they could have showed it to us for like 5 years in a row. But seeing as I didn't see any, I don't know. I have no idea, dude. All I know is what I saw. But we want to loot Chester. Looting is an American way. No, it's not. Hurricane Katrina, and they were shooting at helicopters. Yeah, they were. And understand that I know that there's a difference between this Black Lives Matter type of mentality and then the other black Americans who are just Americans. I get that. I know that because that's who I grew up with. I didn't grow up around any in New England. I didn't grow up around any of those kind of, Black Lives Matter activist type people. We didn't have that. They were just a bunch of Americans. There wasn't a distinction. Matter of fact, they sounded like New Englanders too. Shocking. Anyway. The area was assisted, told us stories of how 40 people in a classroom, they evacuated to an elementary school, shared a cup of water, each in turn taking a sip. Right? I mean, yeah, these are the normal things what people do. It's this weird toxic culture of the city, really. I think that's one of our big issues. It's culture, guys. Eric Hawkins says, and of course, George Bush caused Katrina. Yeah, obviously. And, well, I'm not going to get into that because that's a long conversation. The SDF could clear the roads for supplies to get through. Canadians caused Katrina. That's this I will get on board with. Brian Hawkins says about 10 years ago or so, there was a storm came through and knocked power out all over the St. Louis area. The power was out for days. Looting started after like a day. Hmm. Yeah, well, unfortunately. Like I said, it was a proud moment for me to be in Japan during Tohoku, dude. It was tragic. We saw it happen on the TV. We actually got evacuated because there was a tsunami came in that came to the area, but it didn't get past the infrastructure here, so it didn't matter. But we lived it, dude. We were in the middle of that when that happened, and it was horrifying and tragic and sad. But then afterward, it was so uplifting to see how the Japanese responded and the world too. There was so many people came in here like Rusty Deo and helped, man. And that's hard helping too, because you're literally digging through an entire chunk of a country that had been devastated by a tsunami. So you're moving wood and garbage, and occasionally you come across a dead body of a human or an animal. So it's tough work, but people came forward, man. It was pretty cool. Brian Hawkins said about 10 years ago. So, oh yeah, sorry, you said that. Real Americans drink whiskey. I think so. I only drink soy lattes. Of course you do, SJW Joshua. Got to drink a Cosmo. Ooh. Nice. Skunky throws down Crown Royal, says Manny. Well, dude, we're going to be talking to you here in a little bit because, of course, on the Draw and Quartered Fan Edition today, we are going to be doing Skunk Girl. Looking forward to that, dude. Dude, I'm almost caught up. Oh my goodness, people are yelling at me again. Chester! Oh, good. I said something wrong. And the Dutch oven, Chester seems to like. Yeah, now this actually perturbs me, Doctor Wright. Yesterday, Booster made some kind of comment about how he likes Dutch ovens, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I love Dutch ovens. Those are great cooking devices. You ever use a Dutch oven, dude? Those things kill, man. What you can do with a piece of meat in a Dutch oven is impressive." And then, of course, they are laughing at me because somehow these days a Dutch oven has something to do with covering the one you love with a sheet and farting upon them. It's like, what the hell is wrong with you
What?
people?
What? Why? Why do people know these horrible
I
things?
don't know, but why would you want to do that to someone you supposedly love? That sounds like more of an enemy action.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're a sadistic prick, and you're just there because you can be.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Tank Ferret's in here. Awesome, man. Nice to see you, dude. Anyway, I got to the bottom of it. All right, let me come over and actually try to do some of the news I had prepared for today. But it's all right though.
Okay.
That was fun. That was fun.
Hmm.
We don't take enough time reading the chat, I think, to be honest with you. But let me come up back over here and well, first of all, let me share with you guys and cover some of these stories. We can't do them all, but that's all right. We'll cover some. I didn't even bother. I didn't even bother to put up the Tom Holland one. Just so stupid. Anyway, go ahead, Dinelli. I think this is
All
a
right.
nice little story here.
Yeah. So from the big screen to the small screen, Pacific Rim is getting an animated series, and it gets 2 orders, and they have a tentative release date for them. So for those who enjoy Pacific Rim franchise, hey, you got some animes seasons coming your way.
Yeah. Now, Doctor Wright, did you enjoy Pacific Rim and Denali as well? Did you guys enjoy Pacific Rim? I did. I had my family had a great fun time with it.
I liked the first one. I didn't even see the second one, but the first one was good. Was pretty decent. I mean, for what it was a little like some of the actual story points were a little weak, but it was kind of neat. I liked the whole idea of the Jaeger.
Yeah.
That it was a mechanical monster to fight other monsters, and and then the whole I can't remember what it was called, but the melding, where the melding of two minds,
Sure.
and it was
Yeah.
both like an emotional and neurophysiological kind of connection.
Hmm.
I thought that was kind of neat, you know, and all that. Uh, the movie itself was there wasn't really a lot of like any good major like battle because that's really all it was. It was one battle that was the whole movie, you know,
Hmm.
and every good battle has a back and forth. I didn't feel there was really a back and forth. It's kind of like just like we win until the end and then we go all the way and still win.
Yeah. Well,
But
I mean, it's not
for
those
what it
kind of
was, it
movies
was all
don't
right
need
though.
much plot, I
Yeah,
think.
for what it was pretty good though.
Yeah. What'd you think, Denali?
I always enjoy kaiju's movie and big robots, so I enjoyed the for what it was. I just didn't care for the character designs for the robots. They kind of seemed lame to me. But I did like the design. They were pretty good. Good for that. I didn't really like the second one. It was really no point to it, and it kind of felt flat to me. But I did
Well,
like the first one.
Well, the second one had too much Michael Bay, and I mean the Michael Bay, not in the explosion way, in the inconsistent and meandering plot. I mean that was a
Mm,
problem with the second one. The first one, I think, was just pure popcorn fun, man. We enjoyed it.
right.
But
Mhm.
well, actually, one of the things I thought was really cool was the name of the Jaeger in the first one, the Gypsy. What was it? Gypsy something.
Danger.
Gypsy Danger. What a cool name, man. That's a clever twist on a word. I thought that was nice. But yeah, no, I think this is cool. Awesome. Bring it on. And of course, they can do a lot more with the anime than they can the live action anyway. But cheaper anyway.
I feel they should have animated it. Now thinking about it instead of having it live action.
Ah, it would have made the money it did though, because I think it did make money. You know.
Yeah, in
Which
China.
one?
Yeah. I remember I
The
was
second
on
one?
a I was on a podcast many years ago, and there was some company had got the rights, and they were creating a miniature board game fighting game for
Mhm.
Pacific Rim, and they had these great little models and stuff like that, and so it was big enough to create an IP that people would actually go and spend. Oh, I think they made over $1 million with that project for a little miniature fighting game for Pacific Rim. So it made an impact, you know.
Right.
Anyway, all right,
I
fine.
just don't. I think some of the designs and the story, this
Oh, uh-oh. Something happened. We lost the Dinale.
really
Oh,
good.
no.
But
All
Yeah,
good.
you're roboting pretty hard. While he robots, this little thing right here, I'm not going to do anything with. I just want to say that if you're not watching Gary Shipman, you should go over and watch Gary Shipman. He's a really, really nice man. I mean, he's truly a nice human being, right? And how rare is that? He and his wife, wonderful people, and he's just an amazing artist. I've always said I think he's one of the best artists in the community, actually. And no one argues with me when I say it. So. The reason I put this up was one to say give a shout out to Gary, but also, I mean, I just the simple idea of Rice Krispie treats with Gary Shipman, artist pro, that just sounds right, man. I need to be there, right? I mean, we all know
So he's
Gary.
making Rice Krispie
I
treats.
don't know, but it sounds right. I
That's
mean,
funny.
it is
Did you
awesome.
see the video? I think it was Martina Marcota, Lady Alchemy. She like had a video this morning. She put out a video on how to make like hot, spicy peanut sauce for hot dogs.
Okay, sounds good. Don't know why, but no, I just because Gary's such a really sweet man, and Rice Krispie treats
Mhm.
just give me that feeling of mom, you know. Yeah, I just thought this was cute. I had to show it. I had to. It was beyond my control. I don't know what's going on with Denali. You back yet? No, he's having some kind of trouble. The fireworks went off at his house. That's what happened. Anyway, let's try to jump through a couple of these lighter stories, Doctor Wright. Um, oh no, Pope Fire's got to Gary. Anyway, Variety says, which I'm always excited what Variety has to say. Wolf of Wall Street producer Riza Aziz arrested on money laundering charges. Okay, boy, there's a lot of liberals getting arrested these days. You notice that?
Eh, I mean, they're naturally corrupt and criminal, I guess.
Seems so. I have a theory. You tell me what you think, Chad and Doctor Wright. I have a theory. I think this whole left and right thing, political, conservative, liberal type of thinking, I think it really has to do with kind of the brain chemistry breakdown. You remember when you were a kid and they made you take your IQ test, but they also made you take a
Mhm.
brain chemistry test? Because IQ doesn't tell you everything about what a person's capability are. You also need to know their brain balance, right? You remember when we had to do that when we were kids?
Mhm.
Okay. And the interesting thing I think is it doesn't matter. Your IQ just simply says how quickly can you reference the information you've learned, right? So if you haven't learned
No,
nothing, that's not going to
that's not
mean
what
anything.
IQ is.
Yeah, sure it is. It's the amount of knowledge you've gained in your life and the speed at which you
That's
can
not what
draw it
IQ is.
forward.
IQ is intelligence quotient. It's the capacity. It's
Yes, I
trying to measure
know.
your capacity for learning, but it doesn't have to do with rate or anything.
Oh
What
no,
you're
it does.
talking about is no.
All right, go ahead then.
I mean, that's literally like IQ intelligence quotient. That's all that number is. I know what you're talking about. There are different tests that they give now that do that, but that's not like a basic like WAIS, like the Wechsler Adult Intelligence System
Well,
is usually when they give.
I took this test in school when I was little, and then when I was in high school, and it involved an oral test, a written test, and a physical
Mhm.
test where you actually they give you like blocks or pictures or puzzles and stuff like that. It was a
Oh,
three
that was an
part.
advanced test. That is, yeah, that's where they test like your sense of spatial capability, your
Yeah.
tactile learning,
Mhm.
your even like Harvard put out one that's got like 23 different disciplines that goes as far as like artistic integrity and appreciation, your understanding of like music inclination and ability is measured in that. So different forms
Sure.
of that. But yeah, I mean, usually, like when you're talking about like your rate of learning, you're talking more like your cognitive affectation.
Okay. I get that. I've just always perceived it as being more of, because not necessarily the not a, amount of knowledge you've learned. That's a separate issue. For me, it was about how quickly you can regurgitate it. Is what I always seen as IQ as being useful for. But nevertheless, I was actually talking more about the brain chemistry side of it. Because
Hmm.
the brain chemistry side is basically saying, are you right-brained or left-brained? Now, I'm actually very, it seems quite the opposite. It feels like it should be the opposite. But when I took my test, I found out I'm very, very rare, ultra rare, actually, because my brain
Hmm.
chemistry is literally 50-50. Now, you would think that would be normal, but it's not. The normal is
No, it's not.
60 to 70, versus 40-30, one way or the other. That's the normal. And when you get into the genius type people, they're the ones that are 80-90% leaning one way or the other. Right brain, of
Hmm.
course, being more emotional, left brain being more logical. But this brain chemistry is really what comes into play when you're understanding a person's character, their personality, how they present themselves to the world. And my theory is that liberals are right brains and conservatives are left brains. I don't know if that's much of a theory, but I think it's true. And it explains a lot because conservatives are conservative in the fact that they know that you have to be little by little, you have to be cautious about your actions because logic
Hmm.
dictates that you do. Whereas the leftists are always thinking with their heart and not with common sense. Therefore, they're far more right-brained, emotional. Love will cure the world, which of course we know is nonsense. But I think this is very telling, and I think this is why we run into these problems because a lot of liberals, even though we get frustrated with them for their stupidity, I think a lot of them mean well, actually. And they can't think logically because it's beyond their capacity. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying we
I
should excuse it. I'm just saying I think it's an actual aspect.
I think you're actually the opposite.
Me? I'm not.
No, I think what you're saying is the opposite. I'll tell you why. Okay.
Mhm,
When you talk to a lot of these SJWs and liberals, what they do is they focus on what I call the blocks. They focus on the construction and the infrastructure of something, but they don't understand what they're actually creating. What they lack are the intuition, the excuse me, the like analyzing,
mhm.
the critical thinking skills. Those are all right brained.
Well, the right brain, of course, is the more emotional, compassionate side, whereas the
Well,
left
that's
brain is
not
more
see. That's the
logical.
thing. That's a misconception. Like
Oh, I see.
your emotions are driven not by like what you're actually talking about is hemisphere. That's not really brain chemistry. Brain chemistry is like what you're going into like synaptic adjustment, neurotransmitters,
Sure.
your different potential chemicals, like a lot, like mostly like potassium, that kind of thing. Like that's one of the reasons why when people they go on diets like curated starvation diets like the ketogenesis, they end up they're draining because your body puts you in a state of thinking that you are alone and starving. So it kicks up thousand years of evolution basically. It says, oh, okay, well then you need to be alert, you need to be strong, and these kind of things. And so it goes through those chemicals a lot faster. You
Mhm,
go through a lot of synapses faster, which means you're more alert, you're more acute, acutely aware of your surroundings and everything. It's harder to sleep. It's harder to, excuse me, to calm down.
mhm,
And the other thing is you go through the way that your body creates those is through nutrition. So you actually go through them faster. You need to consume them, even you need to consume them more. And people don't do that. And then they end up getting
mhm.
headaches and fatigue, exhaustion, depression, all that other stuff that follows with it. But your
Interesting.
chemistry, your chemistry, that's one of the reasons depression is such a vicious cycle, because what ends up happening is you need more of that chemical, right? But you get depressed, you don't want to eat, you don't want to do anything. So you're not doing what it makes, what your body would need to make that chemical. So you make even less and call for even more. So you get worse and worse and worse. You see what I'm saying? Until it
No, I
actually
get it.
physically
Yeah.
hurts.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I
you
mean?
you obviously know more about this than I do. That's awesome. I didn't know those things, and obviously I must have misconstrued the concept of it. I never really focused on those things too much, but Thank you. Joshua says Chester. Yes. Oh, that's funny. Josh says Chester is ultra special. Everyone clap. Well, actually, I think it's ironic actually because the 50-50 thing you would think would be the norm. That's what I would assume. But it's not, and from what I understood from my testers, that it's really extremely rare to find someone who's literally 50-50. It doesn't make sense to me, but yet it is what it is. But then again, obviously, I'm not as well versed in this as Dr. Wright is here, so maybe I just need to go
Well, the
study.
way it is like you create your neural pathways one of two ways. Like when you're younger and your brain is more malleable and more easily adjusted,
Hmm.
like basically it just your enzymes kind of carve a rut in your brain, and it literally like that's a new memory or
Sure,
whatever,
the Krebs, yeah,
new thought. But like later, it's literally through acid etching, and that's why they'll say like it hurts, like an older person like 40, 50 years old, you study, like you did when you were young, and it hurts. Well, yeah, it does, because if you were learning a whole lot of stuff, you're literally acid etching your brain,
well, there you
and it's
go.
very small and minute, but that's what you're doing, and it hurts after a while. But think of it more like this way, as far as the hemispheres and the chemistry. Think of like your hemisphere, like you're 50-50, right? Think of like you have two pumps, the left pump and the right pump, right?
Hmm.
Well, what that's saying is for anything that you've got 50-50. You've got, if you want to run a logical, you've got 50% to run that logical. If you want to run the right side, you've got 50%. So you're pretty even kill. You're pretty easy. You're going to understand logic. You're going to understand intuition. You're going to have high critical thinking skills. You're going to be able to adapt each way.
Sure,
Now let's think of it the other way. If I'm say 80-20, right? Well, I've got, if I've got 80 logic, 20 critical thinking, well, I've only got 20, the I only have the pressure of 20 to get through my critical thinking skills. It's not that like you only use that. It's sort of like you just have less juice to do it.
sure. No, I
You know what I
understood
mean?
that. I understood that part.
And then the thing that happens is that this is something that a lot of people don't understand too. It's like creativity and logic come from this. They don't come from the same center, obviously,
Mhm.
but they use the same neurotransmitters.
I see. Well,
So
we should talk about this on a TFT. Actually, I would love to have a conversation, but the chat is getting restless, so we need to
sorry.
move on. But no, no, I actually would love to have the conversation because this is a topic I don't know a lot about, and of course, learning new things is always awesome, right? So we should actually
Mr.
have a
TFT.
well, no, we should do a TFT talking about the brain, the conspiracy theories of the brain, because there are many. Actually, I think it would be
Mhm.
a good show, dude. We'll have to talk about that and plan it actually. But let's move on
Sure.
to the next story. Unfortunately, I guess we lost Dinale. I don't know what happened with him, but that's all right. I think he is with his family. I think it would be better if he was over there. We got to quit here in a bit anyway, because I have to go set up the show. So, what should be my last thing for today? We have this one. I already mentioned that. Oh, this one. Obviously, it's this one.
The
Uh,
ginger genocide continues.
the ginger genocide does continue, and they hate redheads, dude. They hate them. Meet the new Little Mermaid star, Haley Bailey, or Halle Bailey. Well, that's a very similar, familiar name. Now, this girl, I think it's actually some Asian in her that's causing this effect, but she actually has a very African face. I mean,
Mm.
African face, not African American, but nevertheless, I mean, she's a somewhat attractive girl. She's got a major acne problems going on, but I don't know if she's attractive or not. I never really found. Anyway, I get yelled at for that, but whatever. That's not the point. The point is, we have movies like, for instance, the Aladdin, which just came out, and boy, did they spend all their time looking for
Mm,
just the right color to make sure that it was represented. And hey, fine.
mm,
The movie sucked. Will Smith sucked. The boy sucked. The girl was okay, which is funny because I actually kind of was mocking her a little bit, but she was actually the best thing about the movie. Yeah, I mean, fine. That's what you want to do. You go right for it. You do that. But here we are back on the other side. We have, I believe, a Hans Christian Andersen story. Correct?
mhm,
I'm pretty sure it is. And we're going to take the Hans Christian Andersen, which of course is a European storyteller, and we're going to race swap that. So where does your desperation? Where did it go? What happened? Right? Are we going to make Mulan? Are we going to make Mulan from India now, or a Native American? What's you going to do that? Of course not. It's just simply because it's a white person, and damn it, we don't want any more white people anywhere ever. Uh, this is this is racism, actually. If this was out of the blue and we didn't have any of the nonsense that was going on these days, and they just decided to do it, I'd be like, that's stupid, but okay, fine. But we know where the politics is on it. This is
And it's always
actual
the
racism.
redheads.
They hate the
It's always
redheads.
the redheads.
Every
They
redhead is
hate
replaced with a
Scott and
black dude.
Irish people. They hate them.
They hate them, dude. No, you're right. I mean, look what they did with MJ. Look what they're doing with the character in The Witcher. They hate redheads,
And
dude.
they're always black. They're
They're always
always
black.
black
That's true.
every time. It's like, okay. And I mean, it's not like it's like 3 or 4. There's like 30 in the past 3 years.
Yeah, SJW Joshua agrees. Do you think now? Let's look at it logically for a moment, because obviously this is stupid, and we're not going to watch this. This is ridiculous, and it's going to flop like crazy. But so done. Article done. But let's talk about the redhead thing for a minute, because I do need to get out of here and go start the next show. But let's talk about it for one moment. Do you think the reason why they literally try to erase every redhead they come across these days is because to them the redhead represents is the ultimate representation of the white?
I think it's like the redhead kind of represents the sort of like a forbidden flavor.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, that's one of those that's always on those like fetish lists and everything. Oh, she's got red hair, and you got red hair, in other places, that kind of thing. Red hair up and downstairs,
I
blah blah
dated a
blah.
redhead, dude. She
I've
was
dated plenty of them,
fine,
and that's what
man.
I'm saying though. But you get those, but you know what I'm saying? Like that's one of those things that's like it's like coveted, and I think they know that. But I mean it has even gone to the like redheaded guy side, and I don't think that's as coveted for
No,
girls.
no, they hate redheaded men, and we always have. Just to kill all redheaded men, of course. But no, I understand that there is an exoticness to it. I just had memories of that redhead I did. Man, she had the most beautiful, pure porcelain skin. She didn't have freckles. I get the
Mhm.
freckle adds another layer. I get it, but she had pure white skin, redheaded girl, gorgeous girl. Damn. And her,
I
her.
dated a girl named Medea Kaufman the same way. She was a solo violoist for the
Ooh,
Louisville Orchestra.
nice, dude. Nice.
Yeah.
Actually, the girl I dated, I'm not going to give her family name, but her first name, literally,
Mhm.
Isolde.
Oh,
Awesome, right? And if
yeah.
you guys don't know in
Tristan and
reference,
Isolde.
go read about Isolde and Tristan. Great
Yeah.
Celtic story. Or maybe I should
Don't
say
watch the
Irish
movie. It's
story.
horrible.
There's a movie?
Yeah, with James Franco. It's horrible.
Oh my God. But yeah, no, it's a good love story though. Oh, ancient love story. Anyway, I do need to get out of here, guys, because I got to run the drone recorded fan edition. TFT, the disappearance of redheads in Hollywood. Yeah, no, it seems to be an issue. Uh, but actually, gingers were oppressed, dude, in some ways. But anyway, I got to stop. I got to stop. Anyway, let me come over here and get back over to where it was, over to here, and there we go. We're back up. We're back up to where we should be. And yeah, you got any closing words for the folks today here, Doctor Wright?
I know, I'm going to be coming out with 2 books pretty soon. One is basically a Christian mythos witchblade, and the other is a dysfunctional magical family that is haunted by their father's past.
Mm,
That's going to be coming, very hopefully within the next month or two. I'm also on Twitter at Dr. Wright is in. Feel free to write me, ask me about writing or brains or whatever. Have a great day and a happy 4th, everyone.
sweet. And Denali says his computer froze, and he's on his phone right now, and he says Happy 4th of July. Well, happy 4th of July to you, Denali, as well as everybody in the chat. Of course, we really appreciate you guys coming in here every day like you do. I mean, we love you guys. And you coming and spend some of your 4th of July with us is awesome. Hopefully, I didn't get too much off on a tirade. But I did start today by myself, so I think I was in that mode. I was like, all right, here we go. Go. And I think I was in that mode. So it is what it is. Of course, we have the Drone Recorded Fan Editions coming up in 45 or 47 minutes. Definitely don't miss that. We are doing Manny from Good Dog Press's Skunk Girl. That's going to be a lot of fun. Already funded, though. So awesome. But definitely want to check it out if you haven't and see if it's something you like. But that's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, tomorrow is our day off, although the guys do run the Bunny Vision movie night on Rabbit on Friday. So if you're not a part of that group, please do become part of it because they watch a lot of fun movies. If that's something you're interested in, I think it's fun. I loved it, but I can't do it now. So, but anyway, tomorrow's day off, and then after that, we do have ourselves a guest on FanSpeak this week. We always try to make sure we have one, and of course, this week we have George Alexopoulos, and he's going to be talking about his Mary Sue, which is kind of interesting because a lot of the Indiegogos, if you haven't noticed, and I'm sure Dr. Wright will back me up, there's no politics to them. They're just comic books, which
No.
is kind of what we want, right? But
Mhm.
George does politics, so it's going to be a political book and funny. I would hope, but we'll find out. So come back and check it out. And of course, we'll have TFT this week. I am working on having a guest. If not, we'll work out some kind of conversation. Maybe we'll have Dr. Wright come on and talk about brain chemistry and how the brain works and the conspiracies around it. I don't know if you're up for that,
Sure.
but if you are, maybe you should put a presentation together. I think it'd be interesting. Anyway, guys, thank you very much. Happy 4th. Thank you very much, Dr. Wright. Thank you, Dinale, and I will see you guys in 45 minutes. Later.
Peace out.